There's nothing more evil than a vacuum tube, trust me. Vacuum tubes are disgusting things. They're noisy, they're grindy, they do bizarre things at bizarre times because it's an erratic device. Does anyone want to hire a 54-year-old engineer with a really weird experience set? Vacuum tubes. Evil. I'm too old to get back into the engineering field again. I'm 54, that means I'm done. They would not hire me. Trust me, it's just forget it. So I might as well do whatever I want. And I enjoy pissing people off. They deserve to be pissed off. Some people need to have their asses kicked. There's a few guys out there, I'd like to kick them in the balls right now, in fact. There are much crazier people than me in this business. I will not name names. Let's not get into that, and let's not attract attorneys or anything. But yes, it is a field for crazy people. It is a field for irrational people. It is a field for people who, they don't see everything as an economic trade-off, you know. If they did, they wouldn't be doing this. That's what the modular synth world is. It's a culture. It's a subculture. It's a very, very weird, off-the-wall subculture. It has nothing to do with the music industry that I can see. Only a crazy person would start a giant company to manufacture synthesizer modules. There's too much competition already. You have to want to do it. You have to be obsessed with it, and or you have to have specialized knowledge no one else has. Analog circuit design, believe it or not, is dead. It's just as dead as rock and roll. How about that? So, a lot of the circuitry is just repetitions of the same old thing, but there are smart people out there, so occasionally you will get something really innovative and new. So I still think this is the golden age, and it's not even over yet. It got started around 1997, 98. That was when MOTM and Delpfer and a few other companies got started, and at the time they were just regarded as complete freaks, but it has just exploded since then. The number of companies has risen like exponentially since 2005. That's not a dead market. It's got some hope for the future. When the vacuum tube was invented in 1909, nobody had any idea. There was no such thing as electronics. In fact, that term did not become commonplace until after World War II. Before that, it was radio, because that was the big innovation that vacuum tubes made possible. That was where the electronics industry originally came from. It was the vacuum tube. And it was something that could be made in the Victorian age. It didn't require a lot of exotic materials or anything. The technology reached a very high level of development until the transistor got cheaper. That's all that mattered. The transistor got cheaper in 1958, and that was it. But transistors are difficult to make. That's the hard part. Tubes are easy to make if you've got the right equipment. Glass blowing gear, you need to be able to make glass to metal seals, and the cathode, which is some semi-exotic materials, but it's stuff you could make a vertically integrated factory. I was messing around with synthesizers in college in the 1970s. That was the age of punk, and I would help out these horrible punk bands and run sound for them, and it would just be embarrassing. This is where my cynicism about guitar players came from, you know. Watching these guys, and dude, man, let's get a band together and, you know, smoke lots of weed and stuff. And then they would get on stage and they would fight in front of their audience. And then the audience loved it. It was hilarious. But that kind of soured me on doing live sound, you know. When Glass Audio magazine came out in 1989, I said, hey, that's what I need to get into. Because I knew something about tubes already, and even though I didn't have any training in them in college or in high school, I knew something about it because it was old technology. My old man was a ham radio operator, and he used to build his own equipment from scratch. So I knew it, right from my earliest years, I had exposure to it. But tubes are a different world from what everything else is now. Everything now is surface mount, tiny little packages, tiny little resistors on a tiny little board. And vacuum tubes are the exact opposite of that. They just don't go together very well. So I'm kind of outside the system. I'm not an old timer, and I'm not up to date. I'm sort of off to the side. The first thing I put out was in 1999. I figured, I asked all these idiot people who had the wrong advice, you've got to make a monosynth that has a built-in MIDI interface and blah, 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 and presets, and it's really hard to do all that stuff with vacuum tubes at what a reasonable price for a musician is, which is like under $1,000. So I built this monosynth that was called the Fattytron. So I ended up building 7 of them. Anyway, so I figured maybe I can cram these into a large pedal box instead of these huge rack mount boxes that waste a lot of space. So I started making the TM1 and the TM4, which was a stereo amp. And I started making more TM modules after that, all in the same box. And pretty soon I was kind of pigeonholed as a pedal maker who made really weird pedals for guitar. And I didn't necessarily want to do that. My devices have CV inputs on them, which guitar pedals usually don't. So I was getting moderate amounts of interest out of that. And then in 2004, I said, fuck it, I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm going to piss people off to get attention. So I put out the Agonizer. That set off the waves of crazy because it was posted on every guitar forum and every synth forum you could possibly name. Oh, look at this, it's got cartoons on it, and it's got a stupid name, and it's got an insulting write-up next to it, and oh boy, it's funny. That's what people want. Guitar players want to be entertained. They're so conservative about their gear, you can't sell them anything that's new or really innovative. People have tried, and they have a hard time doing it. So what you do is you insult them a little bit, and it works. It was pretty good business for a while, but I don't necessarily want to be known as a pedal manufacturer. Nobody does, really. I wanted to make innovative products for synthesizers because I'm more interested in electronic music than in guitar dude music. I mean, I love to lecture people about this. I think rock and roll is dead, and they are sodomizing the corpse. Well, I always wanted to do the modular ones, but when I first started in 99 and 2000, there was very few people doing it. And the formats were not set in stone yet. You had Dupfer, which was Euro, and you had Paul doing MOTM, which is 5U, which is different from the other 5U, which is synthesizers.com. And then you had Bruce Duncan, who was off doing his own panel format and hated everybody else. They would all bagmouth each other. So which panel format do you make? So I said, I'm not going to make any panel format until they decide on a standard. As time went on over the past decade, they eventually, Euro became the most popular. It is unquestionably far out ahead of all of the others. So in 2008, I started making Euro modules. That's obviously where the market is. They tend to be younger, they tend to be crazier, they tend to be more interested in weird sounds and unusual sounds and new sounds, and they don't have any preconceptions. Whereas I could badmouth the 5U guys if you want. The 5U guys have got all kinds of strange ideas. Most of them are stuck in the 70s, basically. They're older. I would say the Buchla guys are even worse. They are almost uniformly over 40. He's such a legend, he could probably shit in a box and sell it. He's a god, I wish I could be like that. You have to be around for 50 years, though. Nobody is imitating me. No one even tries. My filters sound different, my oscillators sound different. You can't make them not sound different. I'm crazy. I'm doing stuff that no one's ever done before. I guess I'm overqualified for my job if you wanted to be picky about it, but I'm getting older, and I don't know, maybe I'm a late bloomer or something. There's something wrong with me, definitely. I'm insane. I never go to New York. I hate New York. New York sucks. The people.